supposed to go up from. You just supposed to just give them more money. You just find it out of the damn blue. It doesn't work like that. Like unless I can raise the prices of my products or services or whatever, or lower my expenses of manufacturing or production, how in the hell can I raise wages? How can I raise salaries? That's
I
what I'm
get
saying.
it.
In order for me to raise it anywhere, I got to get it from someplace else.
I get it. I get it. There are boards of what do they call it? Board of directors. Like there are people that are harnessed by obligation to make money for that company. Period. Period. Like unless you are throwing down with a certain amount of money every month for this company, that's your ass. Employee excuses or not, that's your ass. So I get it because it's a federal law. Fiduciary responsibility is some crap like that, where there are companies that have to consider profit over people. They have to. That's their job. That's their reason for existing,
Well,
and they
well, the
got to make it
companies don't.
happen.
Yeah, some companies usually a person in there is going to have a fiduciary responsibility, just like a broker or an advisor. A financial advisor is going to have a fiduciary responsibility regarding your money because they're the expert and their advice has to be in your best interest. It can't be in the best interest of any one company, or it can't be in the best interest of themselves. You know what I'm saying? That's the fiduciary responsibility. But go ahead.
Okay, I got the term wrong.
Mhm.
My point is that
You weren't all the way off, but yeah.
yeah, the profits over people is what's on the table now,
But
and
yes,
that's just
people
the way
can
it
be
is.
sued for a violation of fiduciary responsibilities. Happens all the time. Hedge fund managers get it all the time.
Yeah, I think though, like I think there has to be a balance to where it's some sort of a protection for small businesses, because I think a lot of the times the
In the
conversations, because
ideal world, yeah, but
yeah, because
things aren't
we
there.
looking at CEOs, they making record numbers and the prices ain't going up. Like the price, the cost of living that went up almost 30% in 20 years. Our cost
Things are
our
very
price, what we're
sophisticated out
making,
here.
we barely have scratched even like thinking like it's probably 1.7% our wages to raise. Like and really they've been stagnant for probably about the last 15 years now.
Like I said,
It,
somebody just asked me in the chat, am I in favor? No, I am in favor of the free market and competition amongst the free market. That's why everything around you exists. That's why you have a choice of what brand of clothing you want to wear, or you have a choice between getting the Kellogg's or the Great Value brand, because there's real competition and one's always going to be cheaper than the other. That's what it is.
no,
You
that's
know?
no. If it's a
So
real free market, yeah. But when you just said that, that's not true, because
no, I'm just
everything
saying,
on that, you're not able to put
but
your
when
if
you
it was a real free market, they would allow you to put your product next to Kellogg's, but they're
they do
not.
allow you to, they do
No,
allow you
bro,
to.
that
You
whole
have to
thing.
bid on
No,
that shelf space. Yeah,
bro, that
you have to do
whole
the same
thing.
thing they do.
You are
Shelf space
not
is
get
expensive, but you
you
got to pay for it.
bid on a exact bid on a shelf space. You're not getting on that shelf space next to Nabasco's product, bro.
But you're
It's
telling
not
me
gonna
like you're
happen.
not allowed. Hell
It's
yeah,
not.
you're allowed.
No, it's not going to happen.
You just probably don't have the
It's
resources
not
as an extremely small business.
because they have the
Understandable.
resources
Yeah.
because they control all of the natural raw materials. So it's not a free market.
Mhm.
It's a monopoly. If it was a
And you
true
might
free
you might
market,
have to
I would agree.
and you
Mm.
might
But
have to
you're in
get
a
on the shelf.
monopoly.
You might have to get on the shelf below the great value. I'm like, that's what it is, bro. You got it like
No, nigga,
that's just the way it is, bro.
they finna put you in the DEI
You can
section
get
You
the
that they
gotta
Prada
just
put
removed
jeans,
it's a
from
you
Target.
can get the
monopoly.
Prada
It's
jeans,
a
or
No,
you can get the
monopoly.
Wrangler jeans.
no, they're gonna put you in the DEI, the department that they just removed from Target and Walmart and shit. That's
Yeah.
where you're gonna be at. They're not gonna put you. You're not gonna be on the shelves next to them. They're gonna put you in the back corner somewhere, and they ain't even got that no more for you. That's why
Mhm.
our businesses suffer. They
Businesses
suffer.
suffer. They've been
One of
telling
the
everybody for years the American dream is made in China. I got clients that got to do this, bro. They come up with all of these ideas, got utility patents, design patents, all of that. They got to send it over to China to get it manufactured because they can't afford to get it manufactured over here. And
here you can't.
the margins are still extremely small because of what they're forced to pay labor over here. You know, the margins
Yep.
are extremely small. And then when they send it over to China to get it done over there, their intellectual property gets knocked off. You know, like they literally got an identical sweatshop table right next to it, knocked it off, and then a website selling the same thing. Yeah, I'm just saying, I got clients that
Nah,
do this.
that's for real.
Got their products on QVC, HSN. I had one, man. She came up with this with a brush to brush, like to wash your horse and brush your horse at the same time. And she ain't no super genius or none of that. She just made something that, you know what I'm saying? She worked with horses. She worked in the equine industry. She just came up with it and boom. And ended up losing money because of that. Losing money all of the time because of that. You know, crap right online.
Yep. It's a fucked up
and
shit.
this
Like,
is a problem with a lot of them. So
yeah.
like what you want to do at some point, bro? You want, like, being an American, you are hampered by what's going on in the rest of the world because all these damn laws and regulations on what the fuck companies have to pay you. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know? So in other words, I can't even compete with the other roofing company unless I'm willing to break laws. No, unless I'm willing to break laws and hire illegals like they are. I can't compete with them.
Yeah.
So why don't you get rid of minimum wage so I can hire Americans to compete with them? And then we can set up our own damn companies. Well, maybe I could put them out of business and we can change the laws back. I don't know. But either way, right now, just letting these people do this for pennies on the dollar, you're just making it worse and worse to the point where we can't compete. Americans can't compete. Your citizenship works against you on American soil, and it shouldn't.
Yeah. No, that's a fact.
That's all I'm saying. So all of that demand on what the hell you need at some point, man. You know, this is one of the reasons why you go into an Asian restaurant or something. Ain't nothing but they family in there working. They don't give a damn about no minimum wage.
No.
You know what I'm saying? They're like, whatever, man. I'll just hire my kids.
Whole family in there working too.
Yeah, they're like, I'll just hire my kids. They ain't trying to hear all that.
Right.
Yeah, they whole family too.
You know, and then after they come up, whatever, get good grades, whatever, you can have this business and your own business and all this other stuff later. We'll worry about all that crap later. So in some cases, man, maybe that's what a lot of folks, and especially when you talk about black people, whatever, that might be what you have to do to learn the damn roofing business, learn the damn industry, because that's what the Mexicans coming over here doing. They ain't just working for minimum wage. They learn the damn business. They get their money. They send their money back over there to them people, and then they bring a whole crew over here and kick off their own shit. And damn a minimum wage. They getting contracts themselves.
Can I make a comment on what you just said about the Asian family-run business versus
who am I talking
a business
to right
where
now?
you hire black people? Say again?
Who am I talking to?
Oh,
right
Candy.
Now? Okay. What's
this
up,
is
Candy?
So, okay, the difference in what I'm hearing and seeing with a family-run Asian business is they may not even be paying those people wages because they all live in one household. You have a daughter, a son, mom and dad, all of them working for a common goal, but all of the money runs back into one house. That is not the same thing as when you are having a small business ran by multiple black workers. You can't say that, they may not have a minimum wage because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because they're all in one household. That would not be the same thing that would apply if you have a business where you have multiple people who are not of your family. So I don't think that that's a fair equivalent that you made there.
Okay, the point, or here's what I'm trying to say. And nobody up here, and even nobody here knows what it is to even live in a world without minimum wage. So you don't even know if it will work or not. That's what I'm saying. But all of these other a lot of these other countries over here that are pretty much way below us when it comes to minimum wage, they seem to be thriving financially.
Well, not
we actually
necessarily.
send our manufacturing over there. And people, they don't have the unemployment rate we got.
Protection.
Yeah, they got communism to protect them.
That's not what I'm talking about. Like in Brazil. So, okay, I don't want to go too deep into it, but I'm just saying, knowing what we know about how trickle down economics really does not work. The money at the top does not come down to the bottom low person on the totem pole. Do you think realistically that if you were to take away the minimum wage, that wages would increase for the average everyday person, or would they decrease for the average everyday person?
And that was my point. I believe they would increase. Yes, they would. they would increase.
I believe they would decrease. And
Okay, and
I'll tell you why.
go ahead, and I'll
I'll tell
tell
you
you
why
why.
I say that.
Go ahead.
I say that because the average CEO, the average company is adhering to their shareholders, right? Like they have to go to a meeting, they have to speak to these people about budgeting. The first thing that they do is cut out workers when they feel like they need to lean out the budget. If you give them the opportunity to pay at the at the very bottom of whatever the budget is. I heard what you said where Americans will work for what they feel like they deserve. But you also have to understand that there are poor people, the undereducated, under represented, who are going to work for whatever they can get because that's the
Mhm.
only job that's going to be available to them. So to me, when I hear you say this, I hear you supporting the exploitation of mainly Black people, because that's the people who's going to be impacted the most
I don't
from
know any of those black people.
removing.
I got you. And
Say that again.
I don't know any of those black people. I'm sure there are a lot of them, but most of the black folks that I know of, they actually do have a
I'm
skill,
talking about
trade,
poor
and
Her
Black people. I'm
value.
point
talking
is
of,
that you support exploitation.
No, I mean, all right. She explained why she thinks the wages will go
But
down.
minimum wage
I'll
doesn't
explain
affect
why
those
I
people,
believe
right?
they'll go up. Like
But
I'll
who?
explain why I believe they'll go up. All
But
right,
like, so
but
like welding, is there?
I
What's
guess
the
I'm not
min?
allowed to do that. It's okay.
No, no.
no,
But
you
this is
can
what I'm
go ahead
saying
and
though.
speak.
Like, I do. I just want to. I do want to say this though. But when you saying like you don't know anybody that does that, they all have a skill. Which one of those skills are basing they wages off of the minimum wage? Like you're not gonna get a job as a welder based off of the minimum wage. Minimum wage is based off of a certain type of jobs that are produced.
Absolutely. Now
The
that's
black
one thing.
jobs,
But
according to Trump, the
let,
black
let me let me
jobs.
yeah, which I didn't even like that damn statement because. But as far as the minimum wage, I'm talking about this across the board. This ain't even just the black. This is
They
for
taking
every
the
damn
black
body. Look,
jobs.
look. It's like this. It forces not just the employers to be competitive with their wages, it forces the potential employees to be competitive with their quality of work and quality of service. I have to pay you a certain amount to keep you out of the hands of my competitor if you are valuable. Okay, if you are that valuable. So I have to outbid my competitor. You are worth what the market says you're worth, not what the government told me to pay you. Trust me, that minimum wage thing is a crutch that's actually undercutting
Do,
people. Okay,
are you
it's
aware that the
undercutting
overall
people.
market is down right now as far as wages are concerned? That people are getting paid less now than they would have gotten a few years ago?
Absolutely, and that's going to keep on happening as long as the government has that regulation on it. You know, as soon as it gets to the point where a company can hire anybody to do your job because you have an anybody can do it type of job, you're going to be forced to be better than your competition. Therefore, you can
So
Listen
demand
to
then
a
that
that's
higher
word
wage.
force.
that's what I'm
Like
saying
Listen to
I'm
that
as
just
word
far as
saying,
you're
force.
it
supporting the
survived, but not
exploitation of
just,
Exploiter.
poor
just
people.
okay. Let
You're
me
an
explain. No,
exploiter.
no, no. Wait a second. Wait a second. Just like the company, unless the company can produce a certain quality of product or service that is competitive, they can't stay in business. So why the hell should the employee be able to stay and work if he can't be competitive or she can't be competitive? She should just be able to show up and demand
Man,
a certain amount of
listen
money.
to
Hell
the
no.
words
Like
coming out of your
you're
mouth.
gonna have to be competitive with your service and your wage. For real.
But here's the problem. When you say competitive, you're not taking into account the astronomical CEO salary that is making the market, the margins not match. Yeah, a lot of these companies could make, oh man, I just got flustered. I'm so sorry. Um, a lot of this, where the company is making money versus what they're paying out to the workers, could be balanced out a lot more if the people at the top didn't take so much money. I don't think that like for instance, if we take a look at say
You
Goodwill,
don't
where
want to
they're
talk about
getting most of their goods for free donated to them, why the CEO needs to be making millions of dollars per year while they pay the workers what they pay the
he
workers.
don't want to talk
Now,
about that
granted, they
part.
No,
are giving you
those are the
jobs to
flaws in the
say,
nonprofit sector. What she just mentioned. Those are some serious flaws in the nonprofit sector and have been like that for a long time. But keep going. That's like even the nonprofit sector is extremely profitable for a lot of people.
but that's my point is that's capitalism. Where
You
the
know, I'm
system
just saying
can
the
be
Red Cross
exploited, it
did it
will
too.
be exploited.
Red Cross did it too. Like a bunch of them nonprofits made hundreds of millions and billions. You know what I'm saying? And like 15 cents on the dollar, if that actually went to the real cause. You know,
And
and then
that's
the
what's
rest
going to
went into
happen if
people's
we take
pockets.
away
But
minimum wage. I
We're
don't see the
talking about
I mean, that's
minimum
CEOs
what's
wage.
caring
happening
about
now, and
people.
there is a minimum wage. What do you like? It's happening now. It's been happening for years.
Yeah, but
Like,
I would argue though that I like even with a minimum wage, I've been able to because of my skill, I've been able to go above the minimum wage anytime I
like it
you
doesn't even
know,
affect you, right?
uh,
I'm just saying, I've
yeah,
worked in industries where people, there is no damn minimum wage. We work on commission, man. You can't close, you can't eat. That's it. You bring the company a certain amount of money, they pay you a percentage of it. That's how it works. That's
yeah,
it.
Commission is
but
a
All
hard
then
right.
way
I've
to
been in
money up.
places where I got
I'm saying,
paid the money
ask
that
the
I
real
wanted.
estate agent about the minimum wage. That's it, man. You don't close no deals, you don't get no money. That's what
No,
it is.
don't get me wrong.
Well, you
I
can work
got
your ass off every day, all
Commission
day for
is
2, 3
different,
months. You
man.
might not see a penny. That's the way the market works. That's the way these companies, these businesses work. These owners kick
Commission
off
is
businesses.
different,
A
man.
lot of them don't see a dime in profit for years. And a lot of them lose a bunch of
So
money
you
investing
want
in
everybody to
businesses
be on the
and paying
commission
their
side.
employees, and then their businesses
That's
fail.
what he wants. That's
Then
what
their
he wants.
businesses fail. Yeah, I do believe people should be on commissions.
Yeah,
no,
he
For
wants
real.
everybody to be
I
on the
Now,
like to
commission.
spend
I
money
understand
and
that
go out and
everybody's
eat.
job
I
isn't
want the
directly
service to be
correlated
good.
to a dollar amount. Not everybody's job isn't directly correlated to a dollar amount. For example, if I own an office building, for example, and I have a janitor that mops the floors, you know what I'm saying? Their job is important, but it's not correlated to a specific dollar amount. So yeah, it should be a standard wage, should be a good wage, but for real, for the best janitor, I should have to pay the highest janitorial price for that. Like for real, I should be able to pay him a certain amount to keep him out of the other damn office building across the street because I want my office building to be cleaner than anybody else's. So he's the best. I want him, and I'll pay him more than
How
you
do you
will.
determine, based on his janitorial skills, how do you determine whether or not he's the best?
Hey, we look at the work. That's it. What's his reputation, resume, all of that stuff. If
I think
you
it
How do you
depends on your
determine, so
mood.
for somebody who works at McDonald's flipping burgers and fries, how do you determine who is the best at that?
and you know what's up, there really ain't much value in them jobs. That's why they're getting replaced by machines. It is what it is. Them people are getting replaced with no wages. Like they're getting replaced with no wages, especially every time the minimum wage goes up, all they do is lay people off. That's it. No wage.
See,
That's what I'm saying. All of this, all of this stuff as far as trying to force people to pay out more money because you feel like you deserve it has
no,
led to
you
just
don't
more
feel like you
unemployment.
deserve it.
You know, no, I'm just saying it's just led to more unemployment
I
over
mean,
the
but
years
that goes
without
back.
I
paying the
don't
wage.
look at it
That
that way.
goes back to when you say there is
I don't
no
look at it that
to
way.
having no minimum wage though.
That's why
So
I said
how are
it'll
you
force
gonna
people
force
to be
them to pay you
competitive.
more when they don't have to be? If they don't have to be competitive now with no bar, how would they have to be competitive? Where do
They
they
would
have
have
to
to be
start?
competitive just to have employees. That's what I'm saying. The other companies that are still running have employees. So whatever it is that they're paying, if you want to snatch their employees, you got to pay them more than the competitors paying them. That's my point. So if the competitor's only paying them $3 an hour, you're gonna have to pay them at least 5. And if the competitor wants their damn employees back, they're gonna have to pay them at least 7 and probably throw in some perks and then back and forth. And little do you know, then things start to even out when things are competitive. But if we just have it set across the board, hey, minimum wage, that's it, $15.
Nah,
I
bro.
don't ever have
They
to
will
pay more than that.
they will
That's it.
pay
You're
me.
capped.
No, that's not the
It
cap.
prevents exploitation. I'm
You
not
come
sure why
in,
you don't understand that.
I
It
mean,
you
prevents
go.
if you think
exploitation.
unemployment is better than exploitation or whatever, say that to the Mexicans jumping the damn border for these cheap ass jobs. Because they're like, you don't want to do it, we will. For nothing.
And they can be deported right the hell out of here.
And I'm cool with that too, because we're a nation of laws, and right now we have minimum wage laws. So I agree with you on that. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. And leave that to the companies to figure out. I would agree with that. You know? But I do believe that that's what it's going to lead to. They're just going to abolish the
There's
whole
a
minimum wage thing.
process of paperwork to get up in here and to skirt around that is illegal. Period. And anybody that doesn't understand that is being unreasonable. You know, just because it's your mother, just because it's your cousin, And I'm sorry for whatever they were going through in their country of origin, but damn it, there is a process that it takes to enter this country to work legally. A lot of people are skirting around that, and that's not cool. That can't be
Can I make a
tolerated.
statement? Can I make a statement in regards to black-owned companies? I have a thought that I would like to kind of flesh out a little. Um, One of the problems that I heard earlier on the panel while we were talking was that one of the issues Black people today have is that we never built anything, and so if this world goes to shit, we have nothing to kind of turn to amongst ourselves to protect ourselves. Part of the issue that I see is that if, like with the whole black owned businesses, if we come to work for black owned businesses, right? If our own people aren't doing better than, say, the white man, as people like to put it, what is the point of working for them and putting in blood, sweat, and tears if your whole goal is to just be able to exploit us the same way the white man would? Why would I even care about a black owned business or helping you to build an institution of that nature when the whole point is to screw me over in the end anyway?
That's a good point. I
You know,
remember
she's absolutely right. And to be
I
honest,
was
that's actually
talking
the damn. All right.
the company I remember on the west side of Chicago is Moo and Oink. They currently, of course, have products in grocery stores. I don't know how the whole business thing works. What I will say is that I know for a fact that this company, Moo and Oink, a black-owned business, was well known and attended to by the black community on the west side of Chicago. They were janky as hell. I've been to it back in the day. They didn't have the same aesthetics as, say, a Kroger's, a Whole Foods, and all this other. They didn't have the same aesthetics, but they had they delivered access to produce that black people in the community were looking for. For some strange reason, due to mismanagement, I would think, they no longer exist. But lo and behold, their products, that name, the little signature pig and cow, is boxed up in grocery stores across America. So you got a point. You got a point about, at some point, our people don't care and they just sell out. There were black owned gas stations on the west side of Chicago. And here it is today, they're owned by, I guess they call them Pakistanis or something.
Yeah.
Like, there is a trend among our people to sell out. They're not committed to owning anything anymore. They just want to grab the money and go. So I hear you on that.
No, and I understand what you're saying too. 100%. That's why I tell people, instead of a business is tough enough, right? But getting into a business, you got to understand that you're still at the mercy of the regulations of whatever industry you're in. So a lot of the times when you mention the black owned gas station or the supermarket or whatever, even though you have that black owned business, you really still, as far as the industry is concerned, you own a very, very small percentage of the market share. So you don't really control any of it. So I think that might have been what people meant, but didn't know how to articulate when they said that black folks either don't have or haven't built anything. So you build a business, but you don't really control much of market share in any industry. That's the problem right there. So even though you can set up a gas station, you don't have the same connect on the petro that the Pakistanis do, that the Middle Eastern people do. Now, granted, they have been trying to do some things. The new administration has, I'm not going to kiss their ass because I don't like them much, but they have been doing things to kind of open up Alaska and get some of that going to Americans, because that's why you see them owning everything. They're not giving Americans the access to be able to get this stuff at them prices, man. So if you got to sell your gas at 10, 15 cents higher than the competitor up the street, you can't stay in business.
That's
That's
what
why a lot
education
that's
comes
more
in.
than likely why your produce company went to just distribution. And you know what I'm saying, instead of direct to consumer. You know,
That's
they
where
just
education
they just
comes in.
started doing it in another way because the numbers still have to add up. That's the thing about it. It's tough. So it's not that black folks don't want to support it. Look, I drive all the way across town to go to one of the only like 3 black owned liquor stores in the state because that's a friend of mine and he doesn't charge me tax, but I'm still willing to pay an extra $5 or $10 on a damn bottle because I know where the money goes. You know, and I know that he doesn't charge me more because he's an asshole. It's because he can't afford to charge what everybody else does because he doesn't have a warehouse full of it. No, he can't purchase. You know what I'm saying? He can't bust it down at the same margins that they do. You know, because he doesn't
And
have all that
that's where
behind him.
education comes in. There, I don't know what these degrees are, maybe economics or something, but there are ways to get into the game of this market share stuff that you're talking about, where a lot of our people are not guiding their children into. I have yet to count on more than one hand experts who are highly educated in economics. You know, they're focused on all these other degrees. It's like, what about the economic? What about finance? What
Fact.
about finance? Like, you got to know how to play this game with these people globally. And we are not doing that. We think that we can just romantically start a business. Oh, I want to sell lemonade. My special grandmother's recipe lemonade to all types of people.